ding, 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 ding.
Oh, all right. Looks like we're ready to begin. Welcome, everyone. I'm Kaylee, and I'm here with my dear friend and co-host, or co-founder, rather, Julie. And we're so excited to be covering this material with you today. So welcome to Awaken Your Sacred Femininity. And we're going to step into the deep feminine together today. But before we begin, I invite you to participate in a little bit of a somatic practice with me to help clear some space. So I invite you in this moment to go ahead and take a deep breath in and let that out. And then I invite you to soften your gaze. So what that means is you're not really focusing on anything in particular. So your gaze goes a little bit fuzzy, and just go ahead and look around the environment that you're in. And you're not really looking at anything in particular. You're just allowing your eyes to let your body know that you are safe in this moment, in this environment. So you can look behind you and above you. You can even look down at your own body. Just looking wherever your eyes are drawn. And then I invite you to take another deep breath in and then shake your arms, your legs, and just imagine shaking off anything in this moment that you don't need. Moving forward, continuing to take deep breaths. And when you feel ready, you can go ahead and place a hand over your heart and just take slow, deep breaths. Feeling whatever comfort is available for you in this moment, feeling whatever gratitude is in your heart. And if you feel neither of those things, just witness whatever is present in this moment. All right. Welcome to this space in a little bit more embodied way. I'm going to go ahead and give you an outline of what we're going to be covering. So, first, why are we here? What is the feminine? Where did it go? Is it still present in our lives? And then we'll talk about how the feminine is viewed, what society teaches us about feminine identity and power, and whether any of that is true and valuable and something that we want to move forward with. Then we'll talk about what the sacred feminine actually is and what ancient wisdom teaches us about the feminine. Then we'll move on to how do we revive the feminine in ourselves and in our own lives? How do we do this in a practical, applicable way? And then finally, as a conclusion, Julie and I will talk about who we are, what we do, and we'll have a final parting ritual.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. My name's Julie Dean Richards, and I'm going to do a little bit of an introduction to what the feminine is. Now, these days, we have heard that women can have it all, right? But why then are women so worn out? We feel the weight of the world on our shoulders. Maybe you're balancing a career, a family, the household. Maybe you're homeschooling and trying to help your community and take care of yourself all at the same time. Maybe you feel like there's something more, but you just can't put your finger on what that more is. And maybe you're longing to connect with something more divine. You're intrigued by the idea of tapping into the sacred feminine, but you don't know what it is or how to learn about it. We know we're supposed to be powerful, right? We are supposed to be on top of everything, and we're supposed to have this deeper purpose. But instead, we feel angry, like angry with our partner for not always showing up in the ways that we need. We feel stuck spinning our wheels, and we end up doing everything ourselves. All the while, we feel that something is totally lacking in our lives. Especially, we feel like we're lacking this identity, this purpose. I want to tell you that this is common, but it's actually not normal. It's not the way that we are here or the way that we're meant to operate. So I want you to take a look at some of these statues, some of the pictures that I have up here. And I want to tell you that there really is wisdom hidden in plain sight. You're here because you're longing for something that's deeper, and there really is something deeper. But it's missing in 90% of women's lives. We used to be more connected with our feminine cycles, feminine power, and a transformational way of living. Women are wired for connection. We can see this in hundreds of studies. For example, in 2017, there was an MRI study that confirmed that women have greater connectivity between the two hemispheres of their brain than men, which makes them fantastic connectors. In 2013, we learned that women have stronger neural networks for socialization, and women have very specific skills. However, those skills have been overshadowed by kind of this competitive mentality. We have this go, go, go mantra. We can see the truth of this hidden in archaeology, which brings me back to these pictures that you can see of these statues of actual goddesses. In old societies around the world, including Sumerian, Aboriginal, Amazonian cultures, there's a lot of evidence that society was based around a central matriarchal figures, like you see here. This evidence suggests that women were more dominant and that they were protected to they protected what they saw as the most sacred part of themselves. They protected fertility and this ability to create life. For example, most ancient divine beings we know about culturally are actually goddesses, like you see here, like Inanna and Gaia, who were told were formed the earth. We find them in these figurines and paintings today. Even in Israel, there was someone called Asherah, who was this goddess of trees, and she's said to be a delight and to be bright above all. So there are thousands of carvings that have been found in Turkey and Australia and the Amazon, and indigenous peoples of the Aborigines, as well as the Amazon. They tell us stories that have been passed down to them, that in the beginning, women were honored. Our ancestors knew the importance of women's sacred power, and they really honored it. And this changed as more masculine-centered cultures moved in, and we forgot about these feminine cycles. So we are not trying to in any way uproot or vilify men. We're not trying to make women dominant over men. We don't want to do that. What we really want to do is to stop this fight. We want to co-create with men. We want to take our power back and step into that power together. But I think a lot of us don't know how.
So before we talk about this how, I want to go ahead and just give you a little bit clearer picture of who Julie and I are. And it's my absolute pleasure to introduce Julie. She has made such a massive difference in my life. She's an attorney, astrologer, doula, researcher, and herbalist. She balances logic and wisdom by combining nature's rhythms, ancient astrology, esoteric knowledge, and science. She speaks 5 languages and has lived in 3 different countries. She's a mother of 3, working with her husband, who is simultaneously her best friend and the love of her life. And then I'll go ahead and introduce myself as well. I'm Kaylee. I'm a feminine embodiment coach, an astrologer, a subtle energy practitioner, a breathwork facilitator, and an artist. And I'm passionate about helping purpose-driven women essentially cultivate inner peace, belonging, and authenticity, all while reconnecting with their inner wisdom and their feminine power. I live in Idaho with my husband and 6 children, where we homeschool and we seek to grow, learn, and love through both light and shadow.
So let's turn. Thank you for that introduction, Kaylee. That was so sweet. I love hearing you talk about you and talk about us because you've made such a big impact on my life as well. And Kaylee is amazing. For anyone listening, Kaylee is top notch. So
Thank you, Julie.
You're welcome. We are going to move on to how, now that you know who we are, how the feminine is viewed. So, we have been told our whole lives that we need to be like men. We need to work like men. We need to educate ourselves like men. We need to push ourselves like men. We need to have power like men. And I think this has really been drawn into our culture in the way that we react to things like emotions, suppressing our emotions, feeling like we need to be absolutely fiercely independent, feeling like we need to work in the same ways that men work in order to be viewed as successful, to have lots of accomplishments, to be at the top of the ladder, to be in charge of everything. So I have this question for you, and you can drop your answers in the chat and just think about this question. But when you think of power, what words come to mind? When we've had other women go through some of this process, a lot of the words around power sound like being bold, right? Boldness, braveness, overcoming, or they're these big words that are these very masculine words, right? Being dominant, having power in that way. And so we really look at power in so many ways as this masculine piece, in this very masculine way. But we know that women and men are different biologically. And we also know that in society, the main type of power that's been modeled is this kind of masculine power, this power of I'm in charge of everyone else, or this kind of very straightforward, go, go, go. We have to do it now. We have to get it done. I like to think about it as like a heroic energy because it is kind of the masculine hero's journey, or the masculine hero making and conquering things, right? Like that's what we think about as power. But how can we know feminine power if we've never actually seen it modeled? How can we understand what it looks like to have power as a woman that's not the same way as a man? Because we are so different, and we have differences in our beings, our purposes, and even differences in the way our power looks. But if we don't see it modeled, it's really difficult to understand how to have that power.
So before I talk about a way that we can see this feminine power modeled, I want to just touch a little bit on what the feminine is as a universal energy. It's an energy of receptivity, intuition, and connection, and it's present in all things to one degree or another, and it's present in nature itself. It's rooted in cycles and rhythms, and it reflects the flow of the moon, the seasons, and the deeper currents of life. The feminine values being over doing, trusting intuition and emotion as pathways to truth. And the feminine helps us foster connection to ourselves, others, and the earth. It's the creative, nurturing force that brings vitality and depth, complementing the masculine structure to create balance and wholeness. In a world that's often driven by action and logic, the feminine invites us to slow down, to honor life's sacred processes, and embrace the wisdom of the unseen. So, how do we connect with this power, especially when it's not always clearly modeled in the people and the structures around us besides the natural world? That's where we come to archetypes. What's an archetype? It's a powerful symbolic figure or pattern that represents universal patterns of human nature and experience. And when it comes to connecting with the divine feminine and the feminine within yourself, archetypes serve as tools to illuminate specific aspects of the feminine, making it easier for us to access and to embody those qualities in our daily lives. So, of those possible ways that archetypes can show up and help us, one of those is understanding. So, the divine feminine is an expansive concept, and it encompasses a whole lot of qualities. Qualities like intuition, nurturing, creativity, sensuality, and inner strength. And archetypes, these patterns, these symbols, such as the mother, maiden, the wise warrior, the mystic, there are so many of them, but they help us to focus on distinct facets of the sacred feminine or the divine feminine or the feminine within our own selves. For example, the mother archetype emphasizes unconditional love, care, and the ability to create and sustain life. The mystic archetype calls us to deepen our intuition, trust the unseen, and connect with the spiritual realms. And by engaging with these archetypes and other archetypes, we can better understand and embody the nuances of the divine feminine in a way that feels relevant to what we're currently experiencing. Then there's this applicability that archetypes can bring. For many women, societal conditioning or personal history may have resulted in a lack of feminine role models, at least feminine role models who embrace wholeness and authenticity. Archetypes act as templates, offering us aspirational figures that we can model ourselves after or that we can see in ourselves. And these figures, these patterns transcend culture and time. So, if we've never witnessed a balanced expression of feminine power or vulnerability, archetypes can show us what that looks like. For example, the queen archetype teaches us about sovereignty, boundaries, and the sacredness of self worth, even if no one else around us models or modeled those traits. And then the healer reminds us of the power of nurturing ourselves and others through compassion and presence, even if our environment, especially growing up, may have lacked those qualities. These archetypes can guide us toward embodying the qualities we long to see in the world. And then relatability. Archetypes are relatable. They aren't external ideals, they're mirrors that reflect parts of ourselves we may not fully recognize. And so, by working with an archetype, you can discover where its traits already exist in you and in your life, and where you might want to cultivate or reclaim those traits. For example, meditating on the wise warrior archetype might reveal moments of resilience and courage that you've downplayed or forgotten. And inviting the lover archetype into your life more fully could awaken your capacity for joy, sensuality, and deep connection. It could show you where you're already embodying those qualities. Through exploring archetypes, we discover that the divine feminine is not abstract, at least not just abstract. It's a living, breathing energy that we can embody, you can embody. Archetypes offer pathways for healing, growth, and reclaiming our sacred identity, reminding us that we are already whole. Whether through visualization, journaling, or ritual, archetypes help us to tap into the divine feminine's wisdom and bring her gifts into every facet of our lives. So there's an archetypal journey, and you've probably heard of the hero's journey before, but maybe you haven't heard of the heroine's journey. The heroine's journey is a profound exploration of self discovery, transformation, and empowerment. And unlike the hero's journey, which often focuses on external conquest and achievement, the heroine's journey delves into the inner world, reconnecting with feminine energy, intuition, and the sacred aspects of life. And this heroine's journey has three stages: descent, search, and ascent. So the descent is essentially a call into the depths. The journey of the heroine begins with going into the unknown, and it's often triggered by a loss, a crisis, or some sort of dissatisfaction with life as it currently is. This stage represents the dismantling of old patterns, roles, or identities, and a departure from societal expectations or external measures of success. There are themes of leaving behind the safety of the known, confronting disconnection, pain, or a sense of something's missing, and then also entering the underworld to face shadows, wounds, or suppressed truth. The descent is often symbolized by entering a dark place, a cave, a forest, the underworld. It represents the necessity of looking inward and embracing the mystery and chaos of the feminine realm. And the purpose of this descent is to strip away illusions and uncover the raw, authentic self beneath societal or personal masks. Then the second stage of the journey is more of a journey for meaning and wholeness. It's the search. And in the depths, that's where the search begins. And this stage is more about seeking understanding and reclaiming lost parts of the self, uncovering deeper truths. It's a process of integration, healing, and reawakening that connects you to intuition, feminine wisdom, and sacred power. The themes of this phase include seeking guidance from within or through feminine archetypes like the crone, the maiden, the goddess, or any of the other archetypes that have already been mentioned. And then reclaiming intuition, creativity, and spiritual connection, and healing old wounds, facing fears, and embracing your own vulnerability. This stage often involves allies, such as spiritual guides, inner wisdom, or mentors, and challenges that test the heroine's resolve. It's like the alchemical work of turning pain or loss or even confusion into transformation and growth. And the purpose of this search phase is to uncover the treasures of the underworld, which are self awareness, empowerment, and a sense of inner belonging. The heroine finds meaning in the dark and connects with the divine feminine within herself. Then we have the ascent, which is where you return with the gifts that were gained through the descent and the search. So after having faced her shadows and reclaimed her power, that's when the heroine begins that ascent. And this stage is about reintegration. It's about bringing what was learned, what was gained, the gifts, the wisdom from that underworld, from that dark, perhaps mysterious place, and bring it back into everyday life. The heroine returns to a different world than she left, not because the world itself has changed, but because her inner transformation has changed her perspective and the choices that she's going to make. Themes of this phase include bringing the sacred wisdom of the feminine into balance with the masculine world and living authentically and expressing a newfound self. There can also be a component of offering healing or insight to other people through her transformation. The ascent involves crossing a threshold, usually, or some sort of re entering the light, whether literally or symbolically. And symbols of rebirth, like dawn, spring, or blooming flowers, reflect this renewal idea. The purpose of the ascent is for the heroine to integrate her inner and outer worlds, bringing wholeness, balance, and a sense of purpose. The heroine is no longer fragmented, but she's fully and completely herself and capable of embodying a life aligned with her soul's truth. So before I move into anything else, I really want to touch on some symbols that are connected to these archetypes. These symbols can act like archetypes. And we're going to begin with the honeybee. It's one of the most ancient symbols for the divine feminine. And the honeybee has been a symbol of the divine feminine since before the time of the Egyptians. It was carved into ancient walls, and the honeybee essentially indicated that Egypt was established by a woman. The honeybee was a big deal in ancient Egyptian culture, and it's still used in modern language to describe feminine royalty. So, what does the honeybee teach us about the divine feminine and about the feminine in ourselves? Bees don't just work, they dance. Dance is a communication between them and the other members of their hive. They're also life givers to plants, to animals, to all of us. They spread beauty and they spread life as they gather pollen for their hive. And they're able to take dust and make it sweet. Their food can be used as medicine and heals many maladies. Bees only sting when necessary and most often in defense of their homes. They are fierce and gentle, hardworking and playful, all at the same time. These are qualities of the divine feminine. These are qualities that can exist in you and do most likely exist in you. So, what is the lesson here? Well, the lesson is that the divine feminine is community based, nourishing, it flourishes, it heals. The divine feminine can make others into royalty. It's not afraid to dance or communicate with her body. The divine feminine makes things beautiful, and she takes something in and gives something even better back. Next, we'll go ahead and talk about the ocean as a symbol of the feminine. The ocean has always been associated with the feminine all over the world, including Japan, India, Native American cultures, and Celtic traditions. Woman has always been signified by the tide, by the ocean. Mermaids, ships, and even sirens connect women to the sea. So, what does the ocean teach us about the feminine? The ocean is the embodiment of femininity. Every single element on the periodic table is present in the ocean. It's rich with minerals and life giving to millions of creatures, not just the creatures that are in the ocean, but also those of us that exist on the land. The most powerful force on earth is water, and it persists over time, slowly wearing away rock and turning it into smooth stone and sand. Its gentle washing in and out creates these changes, nurturing and at the same time metamorphizing. It's constantly in motion. So, what does this symbol, this archetype of the ocean, teach us about the divine feminine? Well, it teaches us that she's incredibly powerful. Whether you view her as simply an energy, a universal energy, or you actually believe in a divine feminine being that is female, there's this sense of power and movement and this ability to both rage and wash away and nurture and nourish. The divine feminine is not afraid of emotion or mystery, and it has a very, very deep memory. The truth will always surface from it in due time, and it can be endlessly explored but never fully known. Julie, do you want to go ahead and talk about the moon? I just realized that I spoke about the ocean, and that's what you were going to do.
That's okay. I would love to talk about the moon, even though everyone should know Kaylee is a moon goddess, and I will always say that about her. She knows so much about the moon, and she's very connected to the moon. And she's taught me a lot and helped me connect to the moon so much more. So we're going to end with perhaps the most familiar and ancient symbol of the feminine, which is the moon. To many, the moon is femininity. It has always been associated with womankind. Its connection to the tides, the menstrual cycle, and birth has solidified this. It has often been associated with goddesses of ancient times as well as pop culture. So, we're going to look at what the moon teaches us about femininity. The moon is the clock of the earth. Its shape helps us keep track of the months and the seasons. It is constantly changing, and yet this change is always the same. It's always constant. The same forms appear over and over again. The same contrast of light and dark can always be counted on. It shifts the tides back and forth, allowing them to ebb and to flow, just as the moon itself waxes and wanes. It receives light from the sun and bounces that light back onto the earth, creating beauty in darkness by its reflection. The moon knows that the dark is just as important as the light. It is not afraid to take time to be in complete darkness. It knows it is powerful, whether veiled in darkness or basking in light. It's not afraid to sit with itself. Certain flowers only bloom for the moon, and its gentle light thanks them. It has the power to eclipse the sun, but it does this only sparingly, truly working in tandem with its blazing partner. It is as beautiful when it is full as when there is only a sliver of its light to be seen. And this, my friends, is the divine feminine. So, what do we learn in this lesson, this third lesson about the divine feminine? Well, we learn that the divine feminine is ruled by the rhythms of the earth and the moon. It's ever changing with the seasons. It's constant and reliable. It's willing to reflect. It's willing to take time to rest. It's a natural receiver. It changes, it adapts. It knows that all life is a circle and that this change will only be temporary. It allows itself to rest and reflect, as well as to shine and be powerful. It takes time to feel each season and that feeling that comes to her from each season. It allows itself to receive, right? She allows herself to receive and knows that she doesn't need to chase, but that all things come to her in time. And this is the third lesson of the divine feminine. So, I guess the question we want to ask from this is, which of these archetypes resonates with you? What about this archetypal journey as well? Do you feel that? Have you ever heard that before? You can drop your answer in the chat. What we've heard from this before is, sometimes people really love the moon, right? They love looking at the moon, or that this idea of changing and adaptability really speaks to them, or this idea of being a great tide and being described as powerful. So each of these archetypes can kind of help us to get a better perspective and view on what the divine feminine actually is, what it feels like, and exactly like what Kaylee was talking about, it can help us apply them to ourselves, to integrate them to ourselves. It's something we can try on and look up to. So I hope you'll take that and try on some of these. So now we're going to talk about reviving the feminine and what we need to do to revive her. So what is the answer? How do we apply these archetypes to ourselves and learn more about the sacred feminine? Well, there are things that we can look at that can help us understand the sacred feminine, to understand the divine feminine in each of us. One is to learn the wisdoms, right? One is wisdom. We learn the wisdoms of we learn our ancient women's wisdoms. We look back at our ancestors and we dive deep within, just like the descent. We can also learn about the skills. We can learn women's specific talents and these skills that allow us to apply these sacred archetypes of the feminine. We can learn more about ourselves, what we can do. And then the third one is a scary word, but it's the word ritual. We can use rituals. We create rhythms. A ritual, which is something we can do over and over again to bring attention to the importance of something. So oftentimes people have a bad taste in their mouth about the word ritual. We get worried because we don't often use that in context anymore. We see rituals as something that's only religious or as something that's kind of culty, but really what a ritual is helping us to do is to physically apply our learning, and it's helping to bring attention to the importance of something. Everyone has rituals, whether or not that's like writing in a gratitude journal. That's a ritual you do to draw the importance of gratitude into your life. Or maybe you have a ritual of meditation or prayer, which allows you to communicate with the divine or to take in more information. We all have little rituals, and they help us to get more centered and bring our attention to the importance. And that's what the wisdom, skills, and rituals are doing for us. We do these physical actions to remind us of their importance and to teach us lessons about ourselves, about the divine feminine, and get that really practical application portion of it. So I'm going to talk about some of the skills of the feminine because this is often overlooked. And I think if we were to ask some of you, you probably think like, I don't even know, like, what are the skills of the feminine, right? It's like, is it cooking and cleaning? No, it's so much more than that, right? The skills of the feminine are not just be in your house and do your dishes. The skills of the feminine are really tangible, beautiful things like healing, right? Teaching, having foresight. Women, we talk about women's intuition and mothers knowing what's happening to their children before it happens and being able to see, right? That idea of vision is so integral to the feminine, and being able to see something happen before it happens, to feel pulled to something. We're connectors, like we talked about before with those studies. We have this ability to connect community. We have this ability to bring people together. We have our intuition. We have the ability to receive. And that's a really important ability. I know people are like, what's receiving? Like, why is receiving important? If someone didn't receive, we would have nothing in life, right? Just like the moon receives and it creates light because of that reception. We also have the ability to receive many different kinds of things and to make more of it, just like the honeybee. The honeybee makes more out of what it receives, and that's what the feminine does. So that power of receiving is actually quite important. And then we've got reflecting, which is that other part of that reception. So we receive something, right? We receive pollen and we make honey out of it, right? We're able to make healing things out of what we have received. We're able to, take lemons, make lemonade, to make honey out of dust. And that's what that receive and reflection piece is about. And of course, there's this piece about creating sacred spaces. The feminine creates beautiful sacred spaces, these spaces where anything is possible. And that's what the feminine is about. Oftentimes, we compare the feminine to the womb space, right? And the womb space is actually dark. It's dark and it's warm and it's wet, and it allows life to flourish. It creates a sacred space for creation to happen, and that's a huge part and skill of the feminine, which is just creation in general, right? This beautiful creativity that we have, and we make the spaces for that to happen, and we actually do the creating, which is really beautiful. So these are just some of the skills. There are so many more, but here's some examples for you. And then here are some examples of rituals. There's all different kinds of rituals that we can do. Intention rituals, where you write down, what is my intention? And you can focus that intention into anything from food, or to do a ceremony where you're like, okay, I want to let this thing go, or I want to write goals for my year. Those are all kind of intention rituals. There's also your rituals based around your menstrual cycle. There are rituals based around birth ceremonies. If you've ever heard of like a birthing, a blessing way, where we come together around the future mother and we give her wisdom and we support her and what she's going through. There are sacred circles. There are Wheel of the Year, which is our ability to celebrate the seasons and rituals we do to help us lock into whatever season we're in and use the energy of that season. There are rituals based around the moon. There are aging ceremonies, and there are rites of passage. So many rites of passage everyone goes through, regardless if you ever decide to have a child or not, or ever get married. There are rites of passage for you. We all go through these steps and these rites of passage together, and rituals help us to internalize those and to celebrate those. And these are all celebrations that help us remember the importance of what we're doing and help us to actualize and make our use of the feminine in a very practical way in our lives. So we're going to try a couple of rituals, and this will give you a small taste of what they're like. These are just ideas that we can bring you to give you an idea. You can screenshot these, but the first one is more of this concept of a moon ritual. It's a little bit more of like a woo-woo ritual, but has a very specific purpose, which I'll tell you. And the first part is to get into a comfortable position and rub your hands together. And then you can hold them apart so that you can kind of feel the buzz between them. And you can imagine a ball of energy between your hands, and then see the moon filling that ball with light, so that in your mind, you're holding the moon. And then you can let that energy and that light pour into your heart area. Let it fill you with light. And then after this presentation, I would encourage you to go outside and draw what the moon looks like in the sky. You can repeat this practice each day of the week and journal about how the energy changes and shifts over time, just as the moon shifts in the sky. And I just want to tell you why I decided to do this or put this in here. And it may seem strange, this idea of rubbing your hands together and looking and pretending you have the moon in your hands. But the reason that we wanted to do this ritual is that this connection with the moon is so important, because it's the connection with this idea that it's okay for you to shift and change. It's okay for you to have these cycles that you go through, and to go through the cycles. And it's also to help you notice that you're cycling, notice that you're changing, notice that you're changing just like the moon, and get familiar. And I know it sounds silly, but as you connect with nature and you actually notice that the moon is shifting in the sky, and you take some time to go out and look at her and draw her, or take some time to feel that what the moon feels like, and let that light pour into you, you will find ease come into your life. You will find your life more seamlessly shifting, and it allows you to move more comprehensively through those shifts and to let things go more easily. And it helps you to feel those rhythms in your life. And by doing this part with the ball of energy, you're giving yourself time to connect with that. You're giving yourself time to let go of what's going on in the world around you and just to really connect to yourself. So that's part of the reason we decided to do this particular ritual. And I've seen big changes. I've done this for over a week before, and it really does shift your mindset. It really does help you to start flowing. So I encourage you to just try it. Even if you only just go outside and look at the moon, draw it each day, that's enough, right? And you can get a sense of the shift and change in yourself. The second one is fun. It's just connecting to the seasons, right? And we're going to collect something from nature that represents this season to you. So right now we're in the season of what I would call Yule, but also, right, this Christmassy season, this wintry season. And you could collect things like a twig of holly, you could get an orange or a cinnamon stick, you could get a piece of pine from an evergreen. And then what you're going to want to do is get a stick to tie them to for this one. And you would just tie the orange, the cinnamon stick, and the holly all onto that bigger stick or a little log that you might get. And then you can make an intention for what you want to do this year and focus that intention on the log. You can write that intention down on a piece of paper and you can attach it to the log, and you can bless the log with gratitude or say a prayer over it. And you can burn this log at this time. In a couple days, we're going to have Yule, and we call these Yule logs. And you can burn the Yule log, and it's like your intentions going out into the universe, your intentions going through, and it's just a time to like help you set and focus your goals. You can also list out everything you enjoy about this particular season. I like doing this with winter because it's a harder season, right? Sometimes it's a more difficult season to love, and so having that gratitude piece can really help you, right? It can help you move through and connect with this season. So when you're done, like I said, you can light the stick and its contents on fire and just let it warm you and let your intention go out into the world. So those are a couple of what we're talking about rituals. They can be simple, they can be complex.
Thank you for sharing those rituals, Julie. I actually really love both of those rituals. I was doing the moon one, like, I don't know if people could see me, my hands were kind of low, but I was doing the moon one while you were talking about it. And I love the concept of setting those intentions and expressing gratitude with the Yule log or even just a stick. So thank you. Before we wrap things up, let's review 4 key ways that you, as those of you who are listening or watching, ways that you can awaken the feminine in yourself. So, sorry, my computer was doing something strange. All right, so you can learn from archetypes. You can read the stories of ancient goddesses, women in religious texts, and myths from other cultures or from your own culture. You can look at these different patterns, and you honestly can even look to a certain extent um, at movies, though there aren't necessarily tons of feminine archetypes in movies lately, for decades, I would argue. But look at books and storylines, look at mythology, look at fairy tales. And you can find these archetypes, these feminine archetypes, and begin to really connect with them. Learn the skills of feminine nature. So embrace skills like connecting with your own emotions and really feeling them, being really present in the moment, setting, I was going to say setting rituals, but that's kind of in another one of these options. But there are so many different feminine skills that connect with feminine energy. Anything that that you have to rely on your intuition, or on not necessarily having all the answers and all the pieces all at once, that's going to be something that connects with feminine skills. And then create mindfulness. It can be really challenging to connect with the feminine if your day is just too full of things to do, places to be. It's not impossible to connect with the feminine. It can just be difficult, especially if you're not accustomed to doing it, if your schedule is just completely full. And even if your schedule isn't full, if your mind is constantly looking for something to distract or entertain it, I have this invitation for you. We have this invitation for you to bring yourself present to whatever is in that moment instead of chasing something mentally. Make space in your life for the feminine. Add mindfulness into the beginning of your day, whether that's with a prayer or a meditation, or maybe you journal and you just free write for a page or two. And then as you do that, it will be easier for you to apply these skills, easier for you to connect with these archetypes, easier for you to have an awareness of who you really are and what you're really capable of and where you're really wanting to go. And then also incorporate ritual. So simple rituals like what Julie just taught you, and basically any journaling can be a type of ritual. Um, just all these different types of rituals, even saying a prayer, even having a meditation that you do with a lot of intention. One thing that I like to do is to, while I'm doing something pretty mundane, like washing the dishes, for example, or raking leaves or something, I bring myself incredibly present and I think about everyone and everything that was involved in me being able to have dishes and me being able to have water. I notice how it feels to have water on my hands as I'm washing the dishes. I notice how my posture feels and if there's tension in my body. I just essentially do the mundane with great awareness, and that can be a ritual. And all these different rituals, big or small, simple or a little bit more complex, they can help you organize your life in a more feminine way, especially those rituals that kind of go along with seasonal changes.
Mhm.
So, with everything that we've talked about, we would love for you to join us in exploring all these archetypes and learning these skills, these feminine skills, and connecting with intuition and incorporating ritual and embracing cyclical living. Julie and I have been creating a space for this very purpose, a space that's designed to help women step into their feminine power and to connect with the richness and the creativity and just the deep inner knowing that comes with being connected to the feminine in general and with our own feminine energy more specifically. And we want to open our doors to each of you. We want to welcome you to Feminine Alchemist, which is our school for the deep feminine and includes a vibrant community of women who are seeking the same things that I think you might be if you're here watching this.
Especially if you've made it this far, right, Kaylee?
Yes, exactly.
Um, but what's Feminine Alchemist, right? And is the question. And it really is a container where women learn about and apply the feminine to their lives, exactly like Kaylee was talking about. And in this, we offer courses that are within 3 different pillars. So, energetics, sacred embodiment, and astrology. So, we also offer trainings from experts in related fields, as well as what Kaylee was talking about, a community, support, and activities. And so, the idea behind this is that these 3 pillars, which I'll explain just a little bit, the energetics pillar is more about what does your energy feel like? What does the space feel like? Setting energetic boundaries, listening to your intuition, also learning about things like the chakra and energetic systems. And then the sacred embodiment pillar is really, we love this pillar so much.
Yes.
It's our favorite pillar, I think, maybe. We love it so much, but it's this embodiment piece, this piece of actually embodying what the feminine is. It's actually learning your sacred identity and feeling it within you. And Kaylee has been working so hard on so many amazing somatic practices. If you don't know what that means, soma means body. And so are these practices you can do with your physical being that help you to really tap into your inner knowing, your intuition, to learn who you really are. And so this embodiment piece has so much, and it has so much about this cyclical living and how to cycle with the year and how to notice your cycles and how to actually change and transform. So that's the sacred embodiment piece. And then we have the astrology piece, which is really about knowing who you are, learning and digging into what can astrology teach us about the feminine, and what can it teach you about you and your personal identity and how you work and your timing and how that timing is going to work for you, seeing yourself from a bigger picture. And so we love these pillars, and all three of them, we are creating a journey with them, using these three pillars to create a journey that allows you to tap into the wisdom, skills, and rituals of the feminine. So when you join this school, you get to learn the wisdom, you get to learn the skills, and you get to participate in the rituals of the feminine. But what else do you get? There's so much more. Of course, we talked about you getting live monthly trainings from experts. We do challenges, and these challenges are usually themed with the seasons and the wheel of the year. And we do monthly activities like monthly women's circles where we witness each other, we hold space for each other. We also offer discounts on our physical products and on our retreats if you're in the membership. And then we have a resource library for you that has tons of guides and information for you. And then, of course, a community of like-hearted, like-minded women for you to interact with. There's so much value here. And I just want to take a touch on, like, what do you study? We talked about courses, right? We're learning about courses, but what do we study in the Feminine Alchemist membership? Well, we study things like how to celebrate rites of passage, how to connect with your body and intuition, how to cultivate inner safety and knowing, how to be an entrepreneur in a feminine way, how to cultivate relationships in a feminine way, sacred birth and menstruation, goddess archetypes and how to apply them. We talk about sacred rage. That's a popular one. And it's a really important one. We talk about energetic healing. We talk about the wheel of the year and how to apply it. We talk about creating these sacred spaces. And we talk about this archetypal journey and help you with this archetypal journey of descent, search, and ascent. We give you applications through all of this and help teach you these rituals and skills of the feminine. Okay, so the question is always, okay, so how much, right? How much is this going to cost me? And I'm really proud of our pricing. I feel really proud of it. I know Kaylee feels really proud of it also, that we are only charging $297 for the year. So this is an annual membership. And just to put that in context for you, that's less than $25 a month for everything. The courses, the presentations by experts, the community circles, all the activities, that's less than $25 a month. But we bill it annually, and it's $297 for the year, and you get access to all the content, all the courses. Right now, I know we have over, I think, 11 hours of course material just by itself. And there's way more coming. So you get all of it for just one small price. And we wanted to do it this way and structure it this way because we want you to have access to everything without having to pay thousands and thousands of dollars. Not that other courses that are expensive in that way or charge thousands of dollars aren't worth it. They are. It's just we want everyone to be able to access this. We want you to be able to access it, your mother, all the women in the world to be able to access this. And we feel like this price is you're able to get everything, and it's something that's not going to break the bank over time, right? So like I said, less than $25 a month, billed annually at $297 a year.
And I just want to echo everything that Julie said. We are so excited to bring this forward, to invite you into this. So much love and consideration and inspiration has gone into the structuring of this, the course content, the planned course content. Everything is falling into place in such a beautiful way. And we want this to be so accessible, and just so... so empowering is the word that comes to mind right now. Everything is designed to be empowering and nurturing and also expanding, to open up to so many beautiful, powerful applications of feminine energy. And now that I've said all of that, going on my little tangent for a moment, let's talk about the timeline on things. So the doors to Feminine Alchemist opened today. So December 19th of 2025, the doors are officially open. And we're so stoked to have this finally here. We have been planning this for months and months and been getting so excited about it. And this weekend on the 21st, we're going to be having a Yule celebration inside the community. And if you join Feminine Alchemist before Yule, you'll get to participate, if you would like to, in that celebration with us. Then in February of next year, so February 2025, oh wow, I said that the doors open in 2025. The doors open in December of 2024. The slide is incorrect. The doors open December 19th today of 2024. The Yule celebration will be on the 21st of December 2024. Now, in February of 2025, we're going to have our first challenge associated with the Wheel of the Year, and it's the 28 Days of the Winter Within, where we'll be exploring that inner winter as well as that external winter and really growing comfortable with something that isn't always something people want to explore, but is so crucial to rest and regeneration so that you can do the things that you want to do without burning yourself out. Also in 2025, we have new courses that will be getting added, at least quarterly. We have a course that will be coming in January. So yes, I get super excited about the courses. Like there's this whole list of courses that are in process. Some of them have been started. Some of them are just like we have to wait a little while. We have other things we have to put into place before we start on these courses. But there's just so much beautiful, valuable, applicable content in the courses themselves, besides the power of being in community together.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, go ahead, Julie.
Oh, I was just going to say, so we would love for you to sign up today, but we do, Kaylee, I almost forgot. We have a special offer for
Yeah. I did forget, so I'm glad you remembered.
We have our special offer. Our special offer is for the first 30 women who come into the membership. And what are we going to give them, Kaylee? Drum roll.
Those first 30 women will each get a 30-minute star chart reading. I don't usually call them star chart readings. That's why I hesitated on it. A 30-minute star chart reading, or astrology reading, if you prefer, with either Julie or I. We're both astrologers. We have overlapping skills and a lot of unique background for each of us. And these chart sessions are so potent, so powerful for gaining essentially clearer insight into yourself and to the timing of your life and into your strengths and things that maybe you've sensed on some level, but it's really powerful to have it almost a second witness of like, oh, here, look, it's in this configuration of the stars. So for those first 30 women who join the membership, the Feminine Alchemist membership, they will get 30 minutes with me or 30 minutes with Julie to go over themselves and their lives. Do you want to add anything to that, Julie?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I mean, exactly what Kaylee said. Like, this is such a huge and potent tool, and the one-on-one time, just so people know, to put it into perspective, both Kaylee and I charge more for one session with each of us, just like one session, 1 hour, than we do for the whole membership. So just to put that like value into perspective, I mean, I think the reading itself is like worth it, worth the membership, because I know Kaylee is such an excellent astrologer. I know so many people have life-changing experiences with her, and I've had lots of clients tell that to me as well. As it's life-changing, it's one-on-one. And part of the reason we're doing this is we really want to get to know you. We want to know you and really welcome you in and let you know, like, we're here for you. Like, we're an actual real community, not like a pretend community, a real community where we get to know you, where we're actually friends. And so that's part of the reason we're doing it. But just to reiterate, first 30 women to join the membership will get these free star chart or free astrology readings with us. So please sign up today. And here is our contact information if you want more, where you can sign up. The where is www.femininealchemist, that's alchemist, MYST.com, like mystical or mystery. And then you can find us online at feminine.alchemist. That is on Instagram. You can find us also on Facebook. And then you can find us or email us at hello@femininealchemist.com.
All right. So thank you so much for spending this time with us. You've shared an hour of your time with us, and we do not take that lightly. As a just little wrap up to this whole experience, I'd like to invite you to engage in a somatic practice with us. And if you would like to do that, go ahead and take a deep breath in and let it out. And then we're going to do something called the physiological sigh together. So you'll take a deep breath in through your nose, and then you'll hold it briefly. You'll breathe in a little bit more through your nose, hold it briefly, and then you'll just let the sound and the air rush out of your mouth on the exhale. So it goes like this. And hold. And you can do that faster or slower, depending on what feels good to you. But that's a little bit of a nervous system reset. If you're ever feeling really stressed or really frazzled, let's go ahead and do that together again. In, hold in, and out. And now, if it feels comfortable to you, I invite you to close your eyes. If you'd rather leave them open, you're welcome to, but go ahead and soften your gaze so you're not looking at anything in particular. And with each breath, I invite you to imagine that you're breathing into your belly and your womb space. Breathing deeply. Settling into your body and into this present moment with each inhale and each exhale. And once you feel ready, I invite you to scan your body with your awareness. See if you can find anywhere that feels really comfortable, that maybe feels pleasure, that feels some degree of joy. Allowing your awareness to drop deeper into your body, opening up to that possibility of comfort somewhere in your body with each breath. And if it feels like too much of a stretch to look for comfort or pleasure, I invite you to look for neutrality, somewhere in your body that just is, that doesn't feel good or bad. It just exists right here, right now. And with each breath, I invite you to just notice that area that your awareness has been drawn to, that pleasure or that safety or that neutrality. Just observe it without any need to change or even label it. Imagine breathing into that space, breathing into that sensation. And maybe on the next inhalation, as you breathe into that space, you notice that it gets just the tiniest bit bigger. That comfort or pleasure or neutrality grows just a little bit with every breath in and every breath out. Noticing what you notice. Knowing it is safe, it is okay to feel whatever you feel in that space, in this moment. Now, whenever you're ready, I invite you to gently wiggle your fingers and toes. You can keep that pleasure sensation, that comfort, that neutrality. You can continue to connect to it, but I invite you to wiggle your body and start bringing your awareness back to the external world as well. You can stretch or yawn or shake out your arms or legs. And if your eyes were closed, you're welcome to gently flutter them open. Coming back to this external environment here with me and Julie. And that concludes our somatic practice together. Thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure to be here with you. And I hope to see you in Feminine Alchemist. Julie, did you want to add any final words?
Just thank you so much for your time. We have enjoyed it. And, transformation is waiting for you and wholeness is waiting for you in this membership. And we just invite you, if that's what you want, to come join us, and are sending you so much love. And we'll see you in there.